Why you won't get an autograph from the Prince and Princess of Wales this Christmas.
And the avalanche of excuses Meghan Markle is making for not calling her father. Welcome to Heirs and Spares, the show that dives into the fascinating world of two of the most recognized royal couples from both sides of the Atlantic. I'm Kinsey Schofield, and I'll be bringing you updates on Prince Harry and Meghan Markle right here in California.
And I'm Rupert getting ready for Christmas, but more importantly, I will have news on what's going on in the world of the Prince and Princess of Wales.
Rupert, let's talk about the Prince and Princess of Wales. We saw circulating this sometime last week, Princess Anne's 2025 Christmas card. And it was her simple signature that really caught the internet's attention, with best wishes for a happy, peaceful Christmas and New Year, read a message printed inside the card. And in handwritten pen, it continued, "From Anne and Tim," referring to Princess Anne and her husband. I think that this probably stood out so much to people this year because you read in Harper's Bazaar that Meghan Markle wants to be announced as Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, wherever she is, no matter how many people are in the room, whether it be 2 or 0, Meghan needs to be announced as the Duchess of Sussex. And it's like the hardest working royal in the world, is so sweet and humble. That's amazing. But this is Heirs and Spares. So the point of this story is that the Prince and Princess of Wales are similar when it comes to their signatures.
Yeah, less is more. In the case of, they can't, in the Princess of Wales, the case, there's always this, almost an element of security because they don't want people forging signatures. The King and Queen do it, but they sign themselves Charles R., Camilla R. That's the sort of protocol. But the Christmas cards that are sent out by the Prince and Princess of Wales, wishing everyone a happy Christmas, but there's no signature as such. They probably send out an awful lot, so the hands would be dropping off by the end of doing it. But it is deemed a security risk. But for Anne, she will just do things her way. Look, she's not someone who's overly bothered by security, as we know back in the day. So
Not bloody likely.
yeah, well, exactly. So for Anne, I think she sent it, well, to Australia, and where she was obviously on a state visit. And heart goes out to everyone in Australia, given the events that happened at Bondi Beach, which I know the royal family would have been deeply upset about, because obviously they are the head of Australia, head of state. So it would have, and given that Anne was there very recently. I mean, I know I've spoken to a couple of people who were not necessarily involved, weren't at Bondi Beach, but live in the area, and people in Australia are walking around in a dazed sense of disbelief, and rightly so. But in terms of Anne, it was an important visit for her, and for her to do that with her husband, it just shows that it would seem impersonal, perhaps, if she did it any other way. But for the Prince and Princess of Wales, it's a protocol type device. Where do you stand on photographs of your family when sending Christmas cards? I'm going off piste here, Kinsey. So if you send a cheesy family,
I can't get all of my dogs in one. Look, this is the last time I got my dogs all in one photo, and that's like in 2020. And so it's hard for me to get that.
Or whatever, but if you send, because quite often the old-fashioned thing was or sometimes is to get a photograph from a family holiday and send it out. And I've always sort of sometimes think it's a little bit smug to be sending a happy picture of a family as a Christmas card. So
it's so sweet. Diana and Charles had the best Christmas cards back in the day.
Yeah, but the royal family always do it. Okay, and that is their thing. I still find it cheesy, but I get it. Okay, but it's when everybody else starts doing it, and friends of mine start doing it. It used to be quite a thing back in the day, less so now. Sending, obviously, I'm an age now where I don't have small children, so the last thing my children want to be is being photographed alongside me. They want to normally run a mile, but in terms of quite often in traditional family circumstances, that's what happens. So anyway, we digress. But I'm a
Why don't aren't you curious to see how people's children are growing up? Like, oh, that's that guy got ugly. Oh, he's handsome. Oh, she's got some teeth on her. I mean, you don't enjoy the opening of the Christmas cards for that
well,
process?
and then you get the life history of what's happened in the year, of how everyone's done amazingly. You know, okay, okay. I mean, anyway, bar
I don't
humbug.
do
Anyway,
it, but I used to do it. But it's hard to get that picture. It's hard to get all my dogs are my
yeah.
family. It's hard to get everybody in the same photo, and I'm just never thinking about it. And by the time you think about it, you're thinking about it because you've received your first Christmas card in the mail, and there's no time.
Well, I do know we started this recording a little late. Presumably, you have a pristine dog because you've just given it a shower. So, is there any chance, instead of sending a Christmas card, give the viewers a sneak of your beautifully coiffured dog
Little.
as a little Christmas message?
It's like the one dog that runs away from me whenever I call his name.
Oh, yeah.
He's very
So it's
independent.
like my children. It's like my children then.
Yeah,
So anyway,
he's cuddled up nice and in fuzzy covers. But yes, I had to text Rupert. I'm like 5 late, little needed a bath.
yeah, well, anyway, so I'm sure the dog feels much better for a little bit of TLC first thing in the morning. Shame we won't see it, but never mind. Anyway, back to what we're supposed to be talking about rather than the bar humbug approach to Christmas cards.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's such a beautiful reflection of how down to earth, yet I mean, there's something very not down to earth about the Princess Royal. However, what we do see from her, especially in her children, and in an example like this, where she just signs her simple name, um, there is something humble and sweet about it that I think that we can really admire.
And you know, well, I know both her children, and they are fantastic people. Peter, um, you know, obviously, well, I actually saw him the other day, and I can't sort of divulge, but you know, last year I gave an award to his mother. Well, I think I'm doing something similar to his father this year, but anyway, who's retired from his illustrious role in the equestrian world. But I did see Peter, and he was very obliging in helping liaise and organise and orchestrate it. So they are a very down to earth family. They just get on with it, no nonsense. You know, cut the protocol. He's Mr. Peter Phillips, and she is Mrs. Zara Tyndall, and that is very much. Princess Royal has a very good understanding of, doesn't want to burden them. Yes, they can't get away from being members of the royal family, but in terms of, they can go about their daily business as just with us titled like you and I. So they are a fantastic testament to their mother and their father in the way they've been brung up.
It just shows you how delusional Meghan Markle is. Absolutely
Yes,
delusional. That
you go, you
she
go, you
I
going
know
early
I'm
on
going
Megan.
there too early. I go there too, but the fact that like she did not grow up with a title, except there are home movies of her running around saying she's royalty as a child, that they do exist. I've seen them, insisting that her friends at her birthday party bow to her. So maybe she's always felt this importance, but the fact that Anne, who is literally given up her entire life for this institution, and Meghan Markle couldn't even hack it for 2 years, but wants the pomp and all the good things that come with it. Now, the article talking about how the Prince and Princess of Wales are not allowed to use their signature. It even quotes Catherine saying back in 2022, "My name's Catherine. I'm not allowed to write my signature. It's just one of those rules," talking about protocol. It does mention how Prince William is known to sign his personal messages on social media with a simple W. I'm sure you see that after a lot of sports rage, a lot of sports commentary on Twitter. Um, and then this helps us transition a little bit into our next story about the Princess of Wales, because she signs she signs her message here C, and then she also does the same on social media. She was visiting London's Ever After Garden. Now, this raises funds for the Royal Marsden Cancer Charity, and she shared a clip of it, that visit, on Instagram on Saturday. In the video, her handwritten note was left nestled in the garden, and it reads, "In loving memory of all those who've lost their lives to cancer." And again, she simply signs it C. I always thought that they were trying to be modern, but thanks to this conversation, I'm realizing that it's simply protocol. She wrote a caption for the video thanking all those who have contributed to the Ever After Garden. "Every flower, every light is a memory held together, an illumination of shared love, remembrance, and hope." So I thought that that was incredibly sweet and simple. She doesn't send a press release. She doesn't need all eyeballs on her, just a humble gesture.
Well, the Royal Marsden is one of our preeminent cancer hospitals, probably the most preeminent. And sadly, I had a friend of mine who was in there treated, got the most magnificent treatment, but sadly, she didn't survive. And this was earlier this year. But I do know the charity work that around the Royal Marsden is hugely significant in helping to try and find some means to combat the worst cancers that are out there. And the Royal Marsden is in a very high profile position. And her just doing something simple brings out draws attention, just as we saw the king making reference to his cancer. We don't know what form of cancer he is, but what he's saying is about it's good to promote, and I'm in a better place, but drawing attention. And I think it's quite an interesting move by both. There is the king and there is the Princess of Wales, just doing their bit to make sure that they can draw awareness, help, while we don't actually know what's wrong with them, but they are obviously still having to be mindful. Treatment in the King's case, we don't know exactly what's going on in the Princess of Wales case, and we don't need to know. But I think they both are aware that they can help promote cancer causes, and actually probably worldwide, because it will draw, even in America or wherever, that we do need. It's a constant battle to try and find cures to some of the most horrendous cancers that are out there.
I thought that the King's surprise video was so sweet and a relief, because I don't know if you received the mass amount of text messages like I did, but there was a flurry of anxiety when the information was limited, and people just knew that the king was going to update people on his cancer in a video format. Um, and I was saying to my friends, I saw him at the end of October. I thought he looked great. I thought he looked great. I thought he looked healthy. But I was pleasantly surprised, and I thought it was a beautiful gesture to the Stand Up to Cancer campaign. And he became a patron of that charity back in 2024. We've also seen Prince William get more involved in cancer charities as well. Clearly, this is a chapter of their lives that was incredibly meaningful to them when it comes to the Prince and Princess of Wales. But it is sad that the King's still dealing with this, even if we can get a little bit of relief over the fact that he doesn't have to have such aggressive treatment going forward.
Well, yeah, and managing his schedule, and deeply frustrating for him, because we know he wanted to be out and about and being as high profile as he can. But again, I think it actually is quite interesting that the royal family are seen to be promoting causes and charitable causes around the big cancer charities. I also think it shows a subtle, maybe a soft power dig at the government to make sure that there is this. The King was talking about early diagnosis, and I'm sure the Princess of Wales would be very much in that. Preventative is the sort of mantra, and maybe a quiet word to the government here as they look around our medical funding to make sure that everybody in less fortunate positions than the Princess of Wales and the King can actually benefit from the quality of care that they've been able to get, particularly, say, at the Royal Marsden, because not everyone's going to have this kind of access. So there's a sort of good raise money for the charitable causes, and we know the charity around the Princess of Wales does raise significant sums of money, and there are other charities out there as well. So it is important, but actually, a lot of we do have a NHS system that we need to make sure that everybody feels that they can get the same level of treatment, and it behoves the government perhaps to facilitate extra awareness, but it almost feels like a bit of a soft power nudge at the government to can't just rely on charitable donations to help fight cancer. We need also the will within the organization itself on a grand scale to help people get the best available treatment and preventative treatment.
And I should say thank you to a lot of our listeners and my followers who donated to Dickie Arbiter's Royal Marsden Charity fundraiser this year. You helped him meet his goal. So thank you to everybody that contributed. I greatly appreciate that. We also promoted Katie Nichol when she was going through her fundraising for Royal Marsden Charity. So if any of you donated to Katie, thank you so much for doing that as well. But a good message. It's nice to hear from the king around the holiday season. We always anticipate to hear from the king around the holiday season about at least with the king's speech. But this was a much more personal matter. He rarely does this. I've always heard it's not about privacy. It's more about not wanting the attention to be on his illness. So he probably hates me because I mention it all the time, but I'm always like, cut this guy some slack. That is my meaning for doing it. But to see him be so open, just it's not normal for royal watchers to see somebody talk that way.
No, it isn't, and I think it's much better in many ways. We don't need to know the actual form of his cancer because that is a private matter. But actually, if he's saying that I know I was lucky, I got preventative treatment and it was diagnosed early. Look, he is a man in his 70s, and we do know that it's not straightforward going through the treatment. But you've got to admire the way that he's gone about his business. The Princess of Wales has been out and about a lot recently, and we've seen her, and that's been a good thing. Now, probably not too much. I don't know when the children break up, but it's usually about now. From the private system tends to be a little earlier than the regular schools. So I imagine they might already be starting to be on their holiday break, or certainly by the end of this week. So we might. Well, I just wonder whether anyway, just moving on a bit, whether we see much of them before Christmas. I just wonder whether the future king might be at Villa Park on Sunday when we take on Manchester United as we continue this amazing unbeaten run. So, and whether George might turn up. So I speculate, that's a big game. So at Villa Park, and you never know whether William's been on to the club and saying any chance of a couple of tickets. But it's not straightforward because they obviously have to have a security element. And you can always tell if you're rocking up to the ground if he is turning up, because you suddenly see just a little bit more police presence, not in an overt way, but in a sort of security way outside the ground.
Well, we do know we get to see them in 2 weeks when Catherine's Christmas Carol concert finally airs on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So that will be a joy. Baby Louis, no longer a baby, in his little tailored suit. He seemed to be, there's the pictures that I saw circulating the next day of Catherine whispering something to him were so sweet. But all in all, it's been a really great year for the Wales family, I think. If I had to, there has been scandal when it comes to the royal family in general, but the Prince and Princess of Wales stayed above the fray. And we saw a lot of Catherine towards the end of the year. And they told us, we want to manage your expectations. She's in remission at the beginning of the year. She's going to gradually return. I think we accepted that. I mean, I think if you have any common sense whatsoever, you weren't criticizing her for being MIA. I saw those people. They don't have common sense. They're what we call a-holes. But
yeah, okay.
we have seen a lot of her towards the end of the year. We saw a lot of the Prince of Wales, Earthshot. Like you were talking about that horrible event in Australia. They spoke out and said that their hearts were with the Jewish community. So I feel like they've stayed on top of it in 2025.
Yeah, but I think they've, in a way, they've got to be careful, and just make sure that they keep the PR on the side. Occasionally you hear sort of rumblings in the background, that, they should do more. And you can't, lots of people who to have school holidays still have to get out there and work. And I'm not saying it's as easy. And I know we've spoken about this before, that they want to have as much time, normal time with their family. But the royal family need to be seen and out there. So for 2026, don't know what the program of events is for Prince William and for Catherine. Again, I'm sure it will always be led by whatever state she is, and physically and everything. But for William, I think that there's more pressure on him to try and make sure that he is as visible as he can be to and doing the right thing going forward. So I think that while yes, they're ending on a strong note, they've just got to make sure that they keep the PR going, because if there are, if these rumblings sort of emerge in the sense that, whether with foundation or not, you don't want you to be always fighting, speculation. You've got to get on the front foot. And the end of this year has ended with them on the front foot. The King's got on the front foot with his message. So, as you say, I think they can look back with a degree of positivity of how they turned around the difficult 2024, given the diagnosis for both the Princess of Wales and the King, that things have turned and they can get back out on the road. Because as we've seen at Royal Variety performances, which is going to be aired, I think, this weekend in this country, when she's out, she brings that bit of sparkle and stardust that is so desperately needed at times, to brighten up a royal visit somewhere. But that, as we've said before, comes with added pressure for her as well.
Hey guys, I want to tell you about today's sponsor. A fresh start is possible. You may be carrying around the same debt month after month, watching it get worse, but that only continues if nothing changes. PDS Debt has already helped hundreds of thousands of people rewrite their financial story and take control. Your turn starts now. Whether you're struggling with credit cards, personal loans, or medical bills, PDS Debt offers custom options to help you get out of debt. They go beyond the numbers to understand your unique situation and build a personalized plan just for you. There's no minimum credit score required, and their mission is simple: help you save more, pay off debt faster, and finally put money back where it belongs, your pocket. PDS Debt is A plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, has thousands of 5-star Google reviews, and holds a 5-star rating on Trustpilot because their program works. And every month you wait costs you more in interest and fees. The best time to start? Well, technically, it was yesterday. The second best is right now. This is the debt solution I would recommend to friends and family. Don't wait another month. Change your story in 30 seconds. Get your free personalized assessment and the best option for you at pdsdebt.com/Kinsey. That's pdsdebt.com/Kinsey, pdsdebt.com/Kinsey. I've been hesitating. I've been dreading. I've been postponing. How do we even go into this? I mean, there's so, did you even read the notes I sent you? They're so
Yeah.
all over the place.
Can I just say, WTF is going on there?
Yeah,
I can't. Okay.
the avalanche of excuses Meghan Markle is
Right.
making for not seeing her father, the protocol that went on. We're hearing from Caroline Graham what took place for Meghan to get a letter to her father.
Yeah,
Rupert,
I mean,
WTF is the only thing we could say, right? We could just end
well,
it
no,
here.
yeah, well, we've got to probably give the viewers and listeners a bit more than just WTF, but I'm sure most people are thinking what the WTF is going on. It is awful. It's sad. She seemed to be able to get to Alison Hammond in the text message to her, with the sort of him, the spoof thing from, and contact her. Yet when it comes to her father,
Wait,
You
so
just go,
Did Meghan reply to Alison Hammond? Did somebody from
I
Meghan's
don't know. I
team?
think so. Sent her something that saying her husband doing the TikTok to something she said. I think that's so I'm told.
Oh,
And well, I read that somewhere, and in which you go. So she was able to reach out to her, I believe. Yet when it comes to her father, it hit sort of thinking about it because obviously I knew we were going to talk about it. The absolute, and I think Caroline Graham has made it clear that she said, look, if it needed to be private, I would take a back seat and not be around. But it almost feels that Thomas Markle needs her as a comfort blanket.
yeah.
But
I
what's
think she
happened
like
is,
her point is I'm here as a friend first,
yeah,
and I'm here as a journalist second, and I've specifically been asked to write a piece about Thomas and his condition by
yeah,
Thomas Markle Sr., who requested I come out here to be with him because, and you and I are in the media, I mean, I completely understand this line. He wants to control the narrative. He doesn't want other people out there saying things. He wants to
mm.
be the first to put something on record. I
It,
understand that. I get that. Because imagine if he wasn't speaking up from his hospital, how many people would be dressed up as nurses or doctors, crawling around that place with their medicine or with their meta glasses, trying to snap a secret picture of him. I think he was just trying to control a potentially chaotic situation.
well, I think so, and it's transpiring that if we're ready to believe some of these articles coming out, she says she doesn't want to see her father again, and
Wait,
it's
you're
just
pump the brakes. You're going too soon. Let's go through
well,
this.
no, okay, well, okay, I'm going too soon, but in many ways, she could easily have got hold of him. She's the one. He's worried, want it in private, and he'd say, right, we'll keep it private. But the problem is, we know that Meghan and Harry have at no stage been able to keep their trap shut.
Yeah.
So, all going
Like
through their
pot meat
PR
kettle,
people.
girl, pot meat kettle.
Yeah, exactly. So, telling that, is upset that everything goes into the media through her dad. On the other hand, what does she do?
You know, this is one of my favorite products. This holiday, while others are chasing the rush, find your sense of calm with Peak. Peak is a luxury wellness brand powered by rare plants and cutting edge ingredients, offering the perfect remedy for the season's hustle and bustle. Their science backed botanicals, minerals, and vitamins support metabolic function, immune health, sustained energy, and radiant skin. In this festive season, choose serenity as the ultimate luxury with Peak. One of their newest essentials, the Deep Hydration Protocol, is a day to night electrolyte system that keeps your body and skin hydrated while promoting better sleep. Enjoy a focus boost without jitters or crash. The natural balance of caffeine and calming compounds keep you centered and alert all day long. Nutrients in their matcha help curb sugar and hunger cravings, making it easier to stick to your wellness goals. Now, I have been using the deep hydration protocol every night for the past 2 months, and my skin has never looked so plump and dewy. I wake up looking and feeling like I got enough sleep. Ready to gift the glow? Unlock 20% off for life for yourself and everyone on your list. Give the gift of glowing health this holiday season. Get started at peaklife.com/Kinsey. That's PIQUE life.com/Kinsey. We're going to get there because there is proof of that. So let's talk
Mm.
about the weird lengths Meghan went just to shut us up because she sends her father a letter just so she can say, I reached out to him because she wants to stop the bleeding. The story is it's such a poor reflection on her. She's trying to shill a Christmas special. And then she also I didn't mention this in our rundown, but not only does she go through all of these links to shut us up from saying, reach out to your dad, stop being a you know what.
Mm.
She releases a press release about how she's producing a Girl Scout cookie movie. No one cares, girlfriend. No, I can't stress it enough.
Mm.
No one cares. So Caroline Graham says she writes the story at Meghan's father's request and receives a flurry of messages from one of Meghan's team members, somebody in her PR team, and she found the tone so unnecessarily aggressive that she said, "I would rather you speak to the paper's legal team and my editor." That is how vicious these text messages were from Meghan's crew. Um, she said, I had other things to worry about. I don't want to fight with Meghan's people. I'm looking after her father. His life is hanging in the balance. That's literally what she says. Now, she stresses Tom has kept the same phone number for at least 20 years, saying he wasn't going to change it because he wants to make sure Meghan can always reach him. My dad's had the same phone number too. I know it by heart because I had to learn it before we had cell phones. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
there's no way Meghan Markle doesn't know her father's phone number, and her team and they keep saying she deleted it. She deleted it. She knows that phone number by heart, especially when she talks to us about how she remembers all the little details. And you know your
Oh,
dad's damn phone number, Meghan Markle. Tom was baffled, saying, "How can Meghan say she doesn't have my number? It's the same one I've had for 20 years. Her and Doria call it all the time." So Caroline just, to make sure everything goes smoothly, because Tom is hovering around his cell phone once he can get it into the hospital. She gives Meghan's team her father's cell phone number, the hospital name, the room number, and she says no one called and no one is called at the time of this publication. I can guarantee you no one's called still. So this is the wild way Meghan gets a. By the way, I'd love to ask your opinion on how she has this kind of power. On Monday, this is how she gets to her dad. And the assistant of the president of the hospital came into his room brandishing a one-page legal document handed consent and waiver for U.S. Embassy representative visit. Tom has to sign this piece of paper saying that certain people, he's like waiving his legal rights to privacy, and certain people are allowed to call the U.S. Embassy and ask about his status. Somebody comes in once he signed, another person comes in after he signed that piece of paper, and Tom says, who called the embassy? And the person just says, I don't know. So then he's given another piece of paper. He authorizes the embassy to talk to Prince Harry, Meghan, Thomas Jr., his son, and Caroline Graham. To which I'd say, what did Samantha do? Why is Samantha not on that list? But, I digress. And then on Wednesday, the president of the hospital walks into the room with her lawyer, no warning. Caroline says, I cover Tom's amputated leg with a sheet to preserve his dignity because Rupert, they're filming this. He was asked to sign yet another legal document to confirm that he was about to receive a letter from his daughter and that the letter was sealed and personally handed to him. The lawyer said the handover was being videoed for Meghan. The video was being sent to Meghan. Tom asked me not to tell anyone he had received the letter. I swore to secrecy and told no one. But when I got back to my hotel room hours later and turned on my phone, it blew up with messages from friends and other journalists saying the Sussexes had released the fact that Meghan's letter was safely in his hands. And they were laying into her, saying that there was a conflict of interest and she was blurring journalistic boundaries or morals or whatever. Why does she have that kind of power, Rupert? She's a reality star that makes jam.
well, she loves, she's she's a narcissist. She likes to be the center of the story. And when you think about it, her brand has taken a hit big time if it hasn't, already, because if she's creating and her as ever film and all this stuff is about these wonderful family Christmases, and what you're in actually, the story of, I don't know what the viewing figures were like for our holiday special.
Didn't crack the
Um,
top 10.
well, I think it says all you need to know. And then this comes out, and actually is a real human interest story. It's unfortunate that it's ended up in the media, but you can't. The Sussexes, going through their people, and we know that she is, you know, Meghan's approach to staff and people is often quite aggressive, allegedly. So I just find the thing so sad that it has to be done through a U.S. embassy. Look, I know it's not straightforward to get to from Los Angeles or wherever they're to the Philippines,
How is it
but
not straightforward? Caroline gave her people their phone number.
yeah. Well, it, the whole thing is frustrating when you know that, and what it has highlighted is that, seeing these interviews from 2014 when she's lavishing praise on her father, yet she has airbrushed him out of her life with a viciousness that is so sad. And surely now, 7 years down the line, if it's all about what she did in the lead up to the wedding, move on, because he's now seriously ill in hospital. If he's had to have a leg amputated, no one does that through choice. They need it for life-saving reasons. And I'm sorry, this just sort of, I find myself getting angry and angrier, because I just think, you know, you've forgotten that, he put his life and soul and money into making sure she had every opportunity throughout her childhood and teenage years, and yet she doesn't even think he exists in her mind now. And then when she finds out that he's ill in hospital, it turns into a horrendous legal process of sort of lackeys being sent to do her bidding. And I'm sorry, that is plainly wrong, because there is a time for all your money, for everything that's going on. Family comes first. And, in this particular instance, and it at the moment, it seems in Meghan's mind, it's, well, what can I get out of this? Can I come out of it good? But at the moment, I think she's coming out as, sadly, she's beginning to look like the villain of the piece again.
Wow. I mean, well, someone talks to the Times this weekend. I and the headline is Meghan Markle has no plans to see her father. But I captioned it when I messaged it to you. Meghan hopes the letter remains private, yet we somehow know an unbelievable amount of details. So someone talks to the Times, okay? Because there's no way we should have this many details if it's not coming from Meghan's camp. The article says Meghan Markle has no plans to see her father, who is recovering in hospital from a leg amputation and has given up hope of ever reconciling with him. Then why waste so many resources? Why are you calling the embassy? Why, now how many attorneys are involved running around recording things with their cameras to send to Meghan? By the way, if I were her father, I'd be like, you absolutely do not have my consent to record me doing, like Caroline says, I had to cover up his amputated leg. It was just like out for the world to see. And they swoop right in, already recording him on a cellular telephone. She has not attempted to ring him at the hospital, fearing a phone call could be overheard. Literally, Rupert, you and I have sat through, I don't know, it's got to be like at least 8 hours of With Love Meghan and Christmas specials. She's not that interesting. Nobody's trying to overhear Meghan Markle's phone calls. It is also understood she deleted her father's phone number after the wedding. It is understood Meghan's letter set out her feelings regarding her father's decision to give several interviews to the media about their relationship. Well, how do they know that, Rupert? How do they know what's inside the letter? Because the Daily Mail has said, we haven't asked and we're not going to. Meghan is thought to believe his collusion with the media has been a major factor in the breakdown of their relationship and a key reason for why they are unlikely to ever reconcile. She has not received a reply to her letter, nor had any contact from her father since its delivery. Again, I would ask you, how does the Times know that? How does the Times
Well,
know that?
someone's told them. But
Yeah.
if you look at it, why doesn't the royal family, either King and the Prince and Princess of Wales, want to talk to him? Because they know what Meghan and Harry will do, bleat to the press. So it's not all right for Thomas Markle to do it. And then Harry's got the same problem.
Yeah,
They
you're
they seem to
literally
be,
married to Thomas
yeah,
Markle, girl. You're
yeah,
married to Thomas
yeah,
Markle because Harry does it every chance he gets.
yeah. So I mean, the point is, they it's one rule for them, but no one else can do it. So this is what I also find objectionable, because what do they do? Everything seems to come out, from the Oprah interview, the Spare book, that documentary on Netflix. What the reason they got the deal, because they were expected to tell their version of events, and so, but that's what's the breakdown of trust between the royal family and Harry and Meghan is all about, the fact that they go bleating to the press. Now, Thomas Markle is trying to afford himself protection because he's in a pretty, obviously distressing. He's living in the Philippines, away from maybe his fat friends that he has in the area, living with his son in the Philippines. I don't know what sort of situation they're living in,
We
but
know
it's
that
probably
they
not.
are in the high rise. because
Yeah,
there was just
well,
an earthquake there that they survived. That's got to be difficult. That's going to be difficult for him to navigate now that he has lost a limb,
yeah,
Rupert.
yeah, well, exactly. So, the circumstances aren't great, but that's again one rule for one. But when it's on your comes at you, you don't like it because they are control freaks. And Meghan is a control freak and wants to try and have this touchy-feely, happy image. Yet underneath it all, it crumbles so quickly. And we know that it does. And that's the part of the problem. So again, you just want to say, who's advising them? You know, who allows them to get themselves into another PR pickle over the serious illness of her father? Yes, they may have been estranged, and we know that happens. But when he's in a much more serious situation than he's ever been in his life, and he's by no means out of the woods, that you've got them saying, "Well, it's got to be on our terms how my relationship gets, and only on my terms."
And everything
Give
is
me a
legal.
break.
Everything is legal. You
Ugh.
want legal documents signed from the embassy, legal documents signed from the hotel, video documenting you. It's like you're Meghan, you are really you are so full of yourself.
Well, but we know, announcing as the Duchess of Sussex, and I'm sure she loves an NDA agreement, I'm sure, at
I
all
know that's
times.
true.
So you just know that she wants to control everything because she's trying to build this special brand, but actually people can see through it. It's false. And this only cements that opinion of how false it is. So there you go. Whereas what you see other people who do the lifestyle brands, there's a genuineness about it, and they've worked hard. They actually get out there, get their hands dirty, do whatever they need to do to make it work. Putting the hard yards in planning and everything. But we know Meghan just wants it landed on a plate and say, "Look how wonderful I am." And everything is ready. I can wrap a wine bottle. I can chop up some broccoli again, or whatever I'm doing, and how brilliant I am. But it is the most, everything you see from her is cold. It's basically shallow as anything. With
You
WTF,
almost
you
ended
put
up
the
on Santa's naughty list there, Rupert.
yeah. Well, I know, but it begins with an F, and I was going to say it, but it's so shallow, and that's why we can all see through it. This family, happy family thing. Well, there're just four of them. Where's the,
Yeah.
five of them if you include Doria, but Doria wasn't around in the teenage years much, and yet, her father, who was, and we've seen pictures and the Instagram talk from back from 2014 of how she valued her father and how he made sure she had every opportunity to get to where she is today. But actually, she almost, and the only thing we hear about is how she wrote as a campaigner, and that,
Damn soap story. Damn
yeah,
soap
yeah,
story.
which has, I don't know whether there are variations of a theme of this soap story, but this goes on and on. It's the same story. Yeah, actually, if you look at the pictures and the nice pictures of how committed her father was to bringing her up, it couldn't have been easy for him. Look, and yet he has done it, and he worked hard in Hollywood, which is a pretty, doing what he did in a very tough world, and he got on with it, and yet she has airbrushed it. And now, when he's languishing in a hospital in the Philippines, she's turning it in. I'll only see him on my terms. Give
No,
me
she
a
won't see
break.
him. She won't
Well,
see
no,
him.
yeah, but now she's saying she won't see him, but it all
Yeah.
needed to be on her terms. Give me
Yeah.
a break. Do the decent
I will
thing.
only engage, have a one-sided
Yeah.
conversation where I chew him out, basically in a letter. It sounds like, thanks to the
Mhm.
Times, it has Sussex sources because we know
Yeah.
that Thomas isn't telling anybody what's inside the letter. She takes the opportunity instead of saying, "I'm so glad you're alive. I'm so glad you're
Mhm.
okay. I'm so sorry you lost your leg." It sounds like she's reprimanding him again for things that happened years ago. This is not a nice person.
Well, no, it's trying to make the story about her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that seems to be happening quite a lot now.
Also,
If you
like,
get my,
did it? Because we're talking a lot. I mean, the reality is, this same day Meghan releases her holiday special, which we were already up in arms about because it was so close to Catherine's Christmas Carol concert, and Meghan told the Fortune, most powerful women summit, that she was releasing it in November. So it felt like she was intentionally trying to distract from Catherine, because she always is, let's be honest. Um, the same day that special comes out, her dad ends up in the hospital. There's an emergency situation and he ends up in the hospital. And it already felt, I don't know if you watched it, but it already felt so hollow to begin with. We get 5 minutes of Harry or less.
Mm.
There is no sign of the children, which I don't understand, because the Netflix original docuseries had the kids and their faces all over it. Meghan puts the back of their heads all over Instagram. We can't see the back of their heads
Yeah.
around a Christmas tree. For years, they released a holiday card. Like we were talking about holiday cards earlier. We used to see their faces, even just the sides of their faces on the Sussex holiday cards. You couldn't show us old holiday cards. So, she just feels so isolated and alone. And you've already made the point, but who's directing you? Why
Well,
is somebody not sitting around a table going, nobody's going to buy this? Nobody's going to buy this because you're not talking to your dad. We never see your kids. Somebody needs to step in and go, you're Delulu.
well, and also that program probably wasn't recorded anywhere near Christmas. It was
It
a
was
Hollywood
recorded last
setup.
year. It was recorded last year, yeah.
Do we know what time of year?
At
Nowhere
the
near the
same time
Christmas
that they
period.
recorded the other two seasons of the
Well,
show.
and they did it in one hit, and so they dressed the set to suddenly have a happy Christmas scenario. She's not even doing this in her own home.
Yeah.
So I mean that turns it into gives it twaddle straight away, and it's shallow. It's a Hollywood set, and so you suddenly end up with these people who look like none of them really wanted to be there. I don't think.
Naomi,
Having to
we still can't get over
yeah.
Naomi's
Well, no,
faces.
I mean
Somebody
she's probably
lost their
thinking,
job. Somebody lost their
yeah,
job over
yeah,
that.
well, whatever. So therefore, you see this fake Christmas as ever special. You then put into this, and you go, oh, well, family. She wanted that to be about her, and everyone has to do their bidding. She always says, Harry makes me, it just loves me so much. Well, what about how much do you love him? And wouldn't that be a better thing to say instead of always saying, I am the most loved man in the world, a woman in the world, and that annoys me. And this
Yeah.
thing with the father it's just a sad tale. And you look back and think there's some dysfunctionality going on here of the most monumental proportion. And that's, I think, what we find sad, that Meghan is now operating in a dysfunctional, delusional universe that none of us quite understand how she can even think like this.
It's true. It's true. All right. Well, agree with us, disagree with us. Let us know in the comments below. It's Christmas time and Meghan Markle's not talking to her father. Just to recap the last 15
Anyway,
minutes.
well, we better go a little bit cheerier and say yes. It is the season of good cheer. It is the season to be jolly and happy and just enjoy it. A roller coaster. Eat some bad food. Eat too much. Get some tacky presents which you fake brilliantly when you receive them, as you get another pair of socks or something.
God,
Um,
I'm
so
old when I love getting socks for Christmas.
Well, I'm very old, and I need some socks. So I won't complain if I get socks this Christmas. But all in all, well, anyway, whatever. Happy Christmas, and less is more on the Meghan front, I hope, over this Christmas period and New Year period. And we can enjoy seeing the royal family in Sandringham having a happy Christmas and, positive stories rather than the other stuff that has always seemed to be percolating not too from this far from the surface. Happy Christmas
What are
all.
your predictions for 2026? Are we getting With Love Meghan season 3 and Confessions of a Female Founder season 2?
Oh, help me God. Uh, please, no. If they're great, if those, well, I can't, the podcast, no, I can't believe that. Would anyone want to come on it? Are they that desperate if they're a female founder?
I feel like
Probably.
there are people that are that desperate. There are people that are that desperate. And honestly, Meghan has some good contacts with Victoria Jackson and Oprah, and people
Oh,
would be doing them a favor by doing. I mean, I don't think she's going to get Victoria Jackson or Oprah, but people might be doing Oprah
yeah.
or Victoria Jackson a favor by doing it. But it wasn't good. It just wasn't good.
Well, if there are, then I don't know. It's going to be an interesting year for the Sussexes because they've got to consolidate and find a way of getting some positive PR that doesn't seem to be all about them, but actually looking as if they genuinely are interested rather than what's in it for them. For the royal family, let's hope the king remains, in a sort of positive recovery mode, and the same for the Princess of Wales, and that the royal family can have some really positive stories. And here to end is the beautifully coiffured dog, smelling fragrant and fresh, and there he is giving his owner a Christmas lick.
Uh,
Anyway, happy days. What a nice way to end.
yes, we're from Edie of the naughty list. The Edie is on the naughty list this year, but she's gorgeous. Yeah, I think. Wait, before I let you go, I have one more question. Do you roll
Yeah.
your eyes at all these reports about Harry and Meghan? This plot to bring Harry and Meghan back to the UK, Project Thaw, that they're going to set up a rival court in the UK. It just seems kind of comical to me. Do you give it any
Uh,
credibility?
I hope not.
Would it be
I
the end of
can't
the
at the moment.
monarchy?
I well, that just once again shows how delusional they are, that they think they can do things on a different, do things their way. At the moment, there's a lot of goodwill towards the king and the Prince of Wales. So good luck if they want to do that. Harry, come here by all means, but have some humility and some common sense and try and get your way back into the favour of the British public. But it's a long way to go yet.
All right. Agree with us, disagree with us. Let us know in the comments below. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. Happy Christmas, everybody.
Same to everyone. Happy Christmas and a happy new year. Fingers crossed for one of those two.